About a year ago, we were on a family holiday in the UK. My dad was with us. My mom was back home in Malaysia with my brother. Then the phone rang. My mom had gotten dizzy and fallen. Every part of me went straight back to 2 years before that. The last time I got a call like that about her. I put my dad on the next flight out. Not me. I couldn't afford to fly all of us back on a moment's notice. And I didn't even know yet if I needed to go back. So I did the only thing I could do from a country that wasn't home. I waited by the phone for my father to tell me whether my mother needed her son. I'm Kevin.
I'm Kavita.
This is His Faithfulness, Episode 8, A Global Family. I didn't get my answer for hours. And in those hours, I understood something about the last 2 years that I hadn't let myself say out loud before. That fear, being needed and not being able to get there, didn't start with that phone call. It started the week we landed. We touched down in Poland on August 3rd.
Yeah.
And Jaiden's birthday is on August 10th. So we landed just about a week before Jaiden's birthday. Back home, we always did birthdays properly, right? From the day Tristan was born through all the 4 boys, grandparents always came over. We'd always go out for a nice big meal. We'd all get together as a family and cut the cake together. That year when we landed, we were living in a temporary accommodation provided for by Kavita's company, and it was a very small, cramped apartment. Do you remember that apartment?
Yes.
With 4 boys and barely any place to move and a cat. We also brought our cat over. There was no room at all, right? The boys had to be boys. And because it's an apartment, you have to be conscious about people living downstairs, people living upstairs. So they can't be running up and down all the time. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of pent up energy that needed to be released in that small place. So there we were in this cramped apartment. We still didn't even have our boxes to unpack because they hadn't arrived from Malaysia yet. All we had was what was in our suitcases. So we did the only thing we could do at the time. We ordered McDonald's because that's what Jaiden asked for. We bought some animal masks from a party shop down the road. And we got a cake and we cut it in a kitchen that we didn't even know how to use yet. That the kitchen was almost foreign to us at that point. It was the most low-key birthday party any of our boys had ever seen. And Jaiden, being Jaiden, loved every second of it. Right? He had the time of his life because he had no idea what it wasn't. I did. That was the moment I understood exactly what we'd left behind to come here. Do you remember that day? Do you remember what was going on when we were celebrating Jaiden's first birthday?
Yes.
What was going through your mind?
And when I see them, especially Jaiden, during his birthday, he was just enjoying and he doesn't know what is going on, right? For him, it's just all fun, right?
Yep.
So it's just, because he's an innocent child, right? So just being innocent, he doesn't know what is happening. As long as he has his favorite food in front of him, he has a cake in front of him, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And when you see that joy in their face, and no matter what, everything disappears. All the problem goes away because that's the thing that matters the most. The joy in their faces.
But did you feel like we were missing out on something?
Of course.
Because this was the most low-key birthday ever had for any of the boys, right?
Like you feel like there weren't the presents like got family members, grandparents, or like how we used to celebrate birthdays in Malaysia.
Yep.
So this time it's like what you say is very low key. But I feel that we were missing much of anything or whatever because for me it was small, but just the part that you were bonding with each other, that was, precious. It could be a smaller group. It could be with the people that you love the most. Could be one person or two person or just a family that you have at that moment. But it's just the time that you were bonding with each other and that happiness that you were sharing and the joyful moment. And when you see in their faces how they just innocently just didn't ask for anything at all. For them, that moment was the moment that they were going to enjoy. That's it. They didn't ask for anything else. They didn't wanted anything else. And that's it. They were empty, whatever it is. So, yeah, slightly, of course, you would feel the difference. Yeah, I felt like it was good.
It was fun in its own way.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the only thing that Poland cost us, right? It wasn't even the hardest one to give up. Now, I will defend this statement until my dying day. I will fight anyone who disagrees with me. But Malaysian food is the best in the world. I know this is a very controversial topic,
Yes.
but let me defend my argument, right?
Let me not comment on that because my feelings a bit mixed. So, guys, listeners out there and eating, I love the local food. I love my Malaysian food. Both are equally good to me. I can't say which is the best, but I'm enjoying it.
Don't get me wrong. I love Polish food. I'm a global foodie, right? I love most 98% of the food I've eaten abroad. I love. And there are places in the world that I will go back to just because of the food. The reason why I defend Malaysian food so much is because we have an amalgamation of different cuisines, right? We have the local Malay cuisine. We have Chinese cuisine that was brought over by the immigrants when they came and worked here that has been Malaysianized with the local spices. We have Indian cuisine that has also been localized. So you get this hot pot of delicious flavors that you cannot find replicated anywhere else. The closest that comes to it is Singapore, obviously, because they are our closest neighbors and they used to be a part of Malaysia, right? But
Controversial.
there is something, it's very controversial. Singapore, if you're Singaporean, you're actually Malaysian, right? Right? So I'm just pushing all the buttons today. So
So you guys know I'm not part of this.
but it's not just that, right? It's also the food culture. If you want to have a char kway teow, it's one order away. You want a nasi lemak for supper, 5 minutes down the road. Food is available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can get really good food for like $2 at any time in your life. That's not a small thing to give up, right? That was the fabric of how we lived. It was as ingrained in us from young that you can get really good food, really cheap food anytime you want. And a lot of our social interactions, a lot of our memories are very closely tied to food, right? You remember those nights when you were out with your best friends sitting over a late night bakute, right?
Yes. Food in Malaysia, they create memories among friends, among whoever it is. Yeah.
Friends, family, whatever, right?
It's a very special thing, and we have this thing called mama. This is a late night kind of a thing when people sit down. You can sit for hours and hours in a restaurant and just talk and talk. It can be over a cup of tea or coffee or whatever. That's it, and you can just sit and talk and talk and talk. So we call it mama.
Mama.
Yes.
Mama, the best thing. I think we're going on quite long about Malaysian food, but you can see how passionate we are about the topic. But every good memory we have growing up probably has food involved in it.
Of course.
So the trade-off didn't just stop at food though, right? In Malaysia, we survived on instinct. We spoke the language. We knew how everything worked. We didn't have to think twice before we did something. Here, there's almost always a beat before we do anything. Whether it's filling out a form or making a phone call or a doctor's appointment, you always stop and think twice. You prepare yourself to do these things that used to come so easily and so casually to you, right? And it makes you feel a little less independent than you're used to being. And that doesn't stop being humbling just because you get used to doing that. It's something that we still struggle with today, even though we are getting a little bit better at speaking the local language. Kavita said it to me straighter than I'd ever put it myself. Independent doesn't mean it's easy, right? Independent always means it's harder. And it's not just us adjusting. the boys are also losing touch with pieces of their own culture just by not living inside it day to day. And grandparents, I think, is the big one. Back home, the boys saw them every single weekend. Back there, it was just another Saturday. Mima and Dadu would come over and we would cook something together, or we would all go out and do something together. It was just part of life. Here, that's gone. We're not lonely, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we're lonely. I want to be very careful with that word because it's not the right one. But we do miss having those people around us. And missing people is its own kind of ache, even when you don't feel alone. Now, we found ways to carry all of that. Food, language, the distance from the people we love. We carried it. What almost broke us was something else entirely. And again, going back to the story of me not having my job, there was a point and a stretch where both of us were actually thinking, is it better to go back? I think that's the only time we ever came close to that idea of maybe we should just pack up and go back, right? And I remember you told me once that it might just be easier to go home. Tell me about that stretch. What was going on? Obviously not about the job and looking for the job. We've been through that many times, right? But what was in your mind that made you think, you know what, maybe Malaysia might be the answer?
I remember that breakdown that I had was about the first month when we were here, and it was at the temporary accommodation. So that was just before the job hunt began and all that. So honestly, it wasn't the job hunt that impacted or was the one that was affecting the mindset or the mentality or the overall stress. It's all the changes that came along with it. Basically, we just brought a suitcase and then our family, right?
And the cats.
And a cat, of course, yeah. And you've had much more in your homeland, in your home country that you just left, and you're coming to a whole different place. So to adjust and to adapt, it was very different. It was very difficult for me at the first month. The place was very small and we were feeling cooped up and you were feeling there were no space, and the boys being boys, energy after energy, and that's it. So day by day, it was just building up and just piling up and piling up. Then I felt the difference that, why am I here? Why am I here for this, right? I would have just been at home in my homeland and I would have been better off and things would have been smooth. I had everything there, but why did I leave everything and just come here just for me to feel like this, for me to feel miserable? Why? That was that one day that I felt like I actually broke down and I really felt like giving up. And it wasn't because of the faith in me, the God in me that told me to just hang on. And if it wasn't because of my husband who told me that it's okay to feel like this, it's just part of the process, right?
The transition.
Yeah, the transition. I think I would have actually packed my bag and left, right? So that was very important to have the support around you when you're feeling that, even in any changes that you go through in your life, be it migrating, be it any changes, having a new job or anything. Change can mean a lot of things, good and bad, right? So for me, it took a bit of a bad turn for me at that time, the first month, because of everything was going on. But nevertheless, I had the support that I needed in my life, my family, my husband, my boys, and most importantly, I had God in me. Because when you pray, you have answers. You get answers, right? So all I can hear is God telling me, hang on, right? Hang on, be patient. I'm there and I'm working something out, right? Just be patient. True enough, the very next day I woke up, I was re-energized. I was feeling refreshed and I was feeling that it's a brand new day again, like how I always feel until today. And I kept going since then. And my mindset changed and I had so much of positivity in me, thinking that the feeling that I had yesterday was just temporary. Today, I'm just going to think about what I'm going to do tomorrow and how the future is going to be. And we'll take it up from there. Because if God says He has something for me and be patient, I trust Him completely. True enough, months after months after months. And today, look at us. We have a church. We have a family in church. We have a lot of things. And I never regret that one day when I think about it. And I'm so glad that I didn't make any decisions. And I was so glad that I sat down and I prayed about it. And I was so glad that I had the support wherever I needed. And I was so glad that I woke up the next morning thinking that I'm going to go and fight. That's it.
Yeah. I kept going back to that verse. I've shared it here before that God told Abraham, right? Leave the land, leave and go to the land that I promised you, and
Yes.
I will bless you. And that's what got me through that time, because you really didn't have anything to hold on to other than the promise.
Yes.
And that was the point, I think, where I had to be really stubborn, and I had to really forget about logic and forget about common sense and just be stubborn in my faith in God. And that was the only thing that got me through those days.
Yeah.
It wasn't just me feeling that pull, right? Your dad, your brother weren't with us as well.
Yes.
What's it actually been like not being able to just be there for them or even to have them here with you?
Yeah. It's different when you don't have your family member. It's different. Not only my dad or my brother, right? The fact that when my in-laws, your parents, right? It's the same because we are all close. We share the same bond with everyone in Malaysia, right? Be it your in-laws or your own family or your direct family or whatever. We all share a very close bond. And we meet each other almost weekly or monthly or whatever it is. Whenever we have a chance, we are there. We'll just meet, right? So here we didn't get the chance. So it was difficult, yes. But the point is that, as I said, I didn't feel that emptiness or that gap or that. Yes, I do miss them. I did miss them and all that. Every now and again, you think that, oh, I wish they were here. How would it feel that if that they were around and all that? But at that moment, my focus was just towards the boys and the family. And yeah, you do get angry, and once in a while you question, is this why you brought me here for these kind of things? We gone through so many things in Malaysia, going through all the process and all that. It wasn't easy, and we kept all our faith in God, saying that, God, if you want this to happen, in your way, in your will, it will happen. So it did, right? And then we were already in Poland. So despite that, I was very angry. I remember that day that I programmed, I was asking, God, you brought me here, but then still I'm just, is this why you brought me here? So that I can feel so stressed. And another time I felt like that is when you didn't get the job you were interviewed for and all that. Yeah. So that was the second part. Even I questioned God that time also, is this why you brought us? Is this the reason? So you will once in a while feel like that. You will question God, but you know what? Just trust Him. In the end of the day, He knows what He's doing. You cannot see what He's doing, but in the end of the day, it all will work out just fine.
And it's not just them, right? I want to be very honest with the listeners. As recently as this week, I felt the same way, right? The feeling doesn't go away. And I'm going to go slightly off script here. But just this week, I was going through something very similar where I felt let down by people I thought I could rely on, family, friends. And I was asking myself, is it worth carrying on? And I turned to God. My prayer with God was, I don't feel like getting an answer today. I genuinely just want to complain and I want to moan. And I read a few of the Psalms that David wrote that were like that. One of them was Psalm 27. So that was my prayer. I just poured everything out to God and I said, this is how I feel. I don't want to be patronized. I don't want to be told that it's all going to be okay because you're in charge. I just feel like I need to tell you how I feel. And that's what I did. That was my prayer and I left it at that. And the next day I woke up and God sent a few people my way without them knowing, but a few phone calls and a few messages that really changed my outlook, right? David wrote, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. And the reality of those words are deep, right? 1,000 may fall at my right, 10,000 on my left, but I will walk through. And that's what God was telling me. So I don't know, when Kavita was sharing that, it just came into my mind and I thought we go slightly off script on this episode. But I wanted to highlight that feeling doesn't go away. We're not sitting here from a position of, oh, we have figured it out and we know the answers and we're living perfect lives and we're God's perfect children. We are not, right? These feelings that we share with you week in, week out, they are still a part of our reality. They are still a part of our lives. We are sitting here and talking to you about our testimonies and what God pulled us through. You know what? Tomorrow something is going to happen to us that could pull us right back to that place we were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. And we're going to have the same doubts and the same question. The difference is we have experiences now that we can call upon, that we can draw from to pull us through the next chapter, right? And so our faith grows. And James wrote about this, right? James said, we are tested so that we can learn, so that our faith can grow. And I really believe that's what God has been doing with us. We have been tested so much so that our faith would grow, so that when we are tested again, so that when we go through hard times again, we can call upon that faith that is now slightly stronger. And the cycle repeats and repeats and repeats. And you know what happens at the end of the day? You have faith that is as unshakable as a mountain, right? And we are nowhere near that end state yet. But the reason why we're doing this podcast, the reason why we're sharing, is because we sincerely hope that it helps you, my dear listener, my friend, my brother or my sister, find that faith for yourself, right? So we've only told you the hard parts. And I'd be lying if I told you that these two years have only been about that, right? First and foremost, church, as Kavita mentioned, was our family away from home. The people here have been amazing to us, not just in church, but in general. We have been blessed with who I call the best landlord in Poland, Michał, right? He lives right next door, and I mean this plainly. He's a gem of a human being, the best. Whenever we needed help, he's shown up. When we first came and we didn't have a car to drive around with the boys, he personally took me and drove me to every car dealership within a 10-kilometer radius to help us find a car that was affordable to us, right? That's the kind of neighbor who decided to become family. And I still remember the day we told him, you are like family to us. He got so happy and he said, oh, I am now Uncle Michał. And the next day he showed up at the house with chocolates for the boys. And he's our landlord. He doesn't have to do any of this for us, but he does, right? God has blessed us with amazing people ever since we came here. The job that I eventually found, I love that job. I pour myself heart, body, mind, and soul into it every single day because I love it. In the years since I've had it, I've already been promoted once. My manager's already talking to me about future promotions. So it's good that stability is there and that growth is there for me. And it's not just circumstances that have changed, right? Our relationship with each other has grown so much since we've come here. One of the things I love most about Poland is that work is work and family time is family time.
Yes.
I remember in Malaysia, there was a day when it was a Sunday and I came down because I did not have to work for once on a Sunday. And the boys were surprised because even on a Sunday, they expected me to be up in the home office working. And they say, oh, what are you doing down here? Aren't you supposed to work? That was life. That was what it was like for me back then, right? But here we get so much of time with the boys. We spend our time together as a family and you can feel the bond among the 6 of us growing, 7 of us, right? The best thing that has happened to me, and Kavita doesn't know that I was going to say this, but the best thing that has happened since we came here is that Kavita has found her voice. She's doing this podcast right now. This is not something Kavita would have done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, right? She's turning into an evangelist right in front of my eyes, and she doesn't even fully realize it yet. So God has been there and blessed us in so many ways, right? Marriage, money, faith, family. Every one of these areas was under real pressure just 2 years ago. Every one of these areas is stronger now. When God moves, He doesn't move in pieces. He moves completely. Every aspect of your life is up for grabs now. God claims every single aspect of your life. And then there's the boys. We've talked about how they've adjusted. They've been doing so well. You ask them what are they identify as Polish. They don't even consider themselves Malaysian anymore. But the funny thing is, even though they call themselves Polish, their favorite food is still Malaysian food. Right? Hypocrites. We put them in a public school just so they would learn Polish. They're thriving in that. So many people ask us, are you sure, they don't speak English in school? They get awards for being outstanding students in a Polish school where they don't even speak their language. When we go to a restaurant now, I don't order. I ask the boys to order for me because they can speak the language. They're not pros, but they know enough, right? Jaiden came and we told you about this. He found a school, and more specifically, he found a teacher, Miss Nidhi, who has done more for him than anyone else I can name. Right? Today he was on a phone call with one of his uncles back in Malaysia, and he was surprised saying, Jaiden is talking so much. No one would have thought this boy would be here today, but yet here he is. 4 boys growing up between 2 countries, more at home here than either of us expected to be. So to wrap things up about my mom and that phone call, she got better, fully back to herself within a few weeks. Here's the part I couldn't have written for you if you'd asked me. It's almost exactly a year later since that phone call, and she's here, right now, in Poland with us. She's on vacation with my dad, and it's the first time that we've seen her in 2 years? Right now, she's just going on and on and on and on about everything. If you know my mom, you'll know that once she starts, it's like a train, right? You can't stop her. And I don't want to miss a word of it. We love that background sound. If you're listening to this and you have your own version of what we just told you, being uprooted, stretched thin, far from the people who know you best, wondering if you made the wrong call going wherever you went, I want to tell you what God told us. It's His own words to a people who'd already lost everything familiar to them. This is from Jeremiah 29. Build houses and settle down. Plant gardens and eat what they produce. Marry and have sons and daughters. Find wives for your sons and give your daughters in marriage so that they too may have sons and daughters. Increase in number there. Do not decrease. Also seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. Go read that, meditate on that, because I'm telling you why, right? These are a people that were uprooted. He's talking to the Israelites in their exile after they were conquered. Their prayer was, take me home, take me home. I want to go home. Father God, take me back to the promised land. But God's telling them to do the exact opposite, right? He's not promising a fast way home. He's telling a people who wanted nothing more than to go back, build houses, plant gardens, marry off your children, increase in number, seek peace for the place that you are in, because that is the place God has put you in. That's God asking you to stop waiting and actually build a life in a place you are not comfortable in either. Because here's the promise, whether or not you're at peace where you are, whether or not you find comfort in the place where you are, God is promising you that once you make the decision to plant those roots, He is going to give you that peace and He is going to give you that comfort. 2 years ago, we were the people in that verse, grieving mama stalls and the grandparents and the Sunday visits, still half hoping that this was temporary. 2 years ago, I didn't know if I'd get to my mother in time. This year, she got on a plane and came to us, into the life we actually built here, once we stopped waiting to go home. If that's you right now, build anyway. Plant anyway. He's not asking you to feel at home just yet. He's asking you to start building like you already know you will. He was faithful in every part of it for us. He will be faithful for you too. If this meant something to you, here's the only thing we ask. Share it with one person who needs it. That's how testimony travels. New here? Start from episode 1. The story makes a whole lot more sense when you go from the beginning. This is His faithfulness. He was faithful. He is faithful. He will be faithful.